At this very moment, your existence is tethered to a violent, screaming furnace of nuclear fusion hanging in the lonely cosmic void. But what if that celestial anchor simply vanished, leaving us to drift into the absolute nothingness of a permanent and suffocating midnight? For exactly 8 minutes and 20 seconds, the world would remain blissfully unaware of its impending doom as the final photons travel. You would feel the warmth of a ghost star on your skin, even though the source of that life had already ceased. Gravity, like light, propagates at a finite speed, meaning our planet would continue its orbital dance around a phantom weight for moments. Then, in a heartbeat, the moon would vanish from the sky as it loses the reflected glow that makes it visible here. Darkness would not simply fall, and it would consume the horizon like a predatory shroud, ending the era of the light dwellers forever. We are about to explore the terrifying physics of a world without a heart and the chilling silence that follows the light. The Earth would instantly lose its anchor, hurtling into the interstellar medium at 67,000 miles per hour like a broken toy. We have spent our entire history believing the ground beneath us was stable, yet we are merely passengers on a cosmic bullet. Without the sun's curvature to guide us, the straight path into the abyss becomes our only destination in this new, dark reality. Consider the fragile irony that everything you have ever loved was built upon the borrowed energy of a single, distant hydrogen explosion. Within 24 hours, onto the global temperature would begin a plummet so radical that the very air would start to feel heavy. The heat trapped by our atmosphere would radiate away into the hungry vacuum of space, leaving us shivering in the encroaching cold. Photosynthesis, the chemical engine of our world, would grind to a halt, silencing the primary heartbeat of the global food chain. Small plants would perish first, their green blood turning to ice as they fail to find the sustenance they were promised. Large trees might survive for decades on stored energy, but they would stand as skeletal monuments in a world that no longer breathes. The stars would become our only light, brighter than ever before, yet mocking us with their unreachable and indifferent nuclear fires. Our technology, built on the assumption of a predictable sunrise, would become a collection of useless artifacts in a global graveyard. But here is where it gets even stranger, as we move from the immediate shock to the long-term transformation of our home. Within a year, the surface of the world's oceans would freeze solid, creating a global crust of ice miles thick and impenetrable. Yet deep beneath this frozen tomb, the Earth's core would continue to burn with the primal heat of its own radioactive decay. In the crushing depths of the Marianas Trench, life would continue as if nothing had happened, fueled by heat from within. These organisms, never having known the sun, would become the sole inheritors of a planet that has forgotten the light above. For humanity, the only hope would lie in huddling around geothermal hotspots or nuclear reactors, living like moles in the dark. For we would become a subterranean species, clinging to the warmth of our own machines while the world above turns into marble. After a few centuries, the very atmosphere we breathe would begin to liquefy and eventually fall as nitrogen and oxygen snow. The Earth would sit in a vacuum, a barren rock of ice and frozen air, wandering the galaxy in a state of stasis. But here is where it gets even stranger as we consider the radical theory of Earth's ultimate and distant future journey. Our planet would become a rogue planet, one of billions of lonely wanderers that navigate the dark spaces between the stars. Over millions of years, there is a statistical certainty that Earth would eventually encounter another star system and its gravitational pull. We might be captured by a new sun, a red dwarf perhaps, or which would begin to melt our frozen oceans once again. The thawing of a world that has been dead for eons would be a spectacle of planetary resurrection unlike any ever seen. Could life survive this intergalactic transit, tucked away in the deep crust, or frozen in the suspended animation of extreme cold? The possibility exists that Earth is not a permanent resident of this solar system, but merely a traveler between different suns. But as we contemplate these vast timelines, we must face the more immediate and terrifying question of our own fragile significance. What are we truly when the light that defines our days and the heat that fuels our blood is stripped away? We are solar parasites living on the margins of a celestial fire that does not know we exist and cannot hear us. Our religions, our wars, and our grandest achievements are all just ripples in a pond that is about to freeze over. In the absence of the sun, the illusion of our importance vanishes as quickly as the warmth from the afternoon air. We would finally see the universe for what it really is: a cold, indifferent, and infinitely large graveyard of forgotten stars. Yet in that darkness, we might finally understand that the light was never something we owned, but something we borrowed. Does the value of a life depend on the longevity of the star that hosts it, or in the brief flicker? Perhaps the most terrifying thought is not that the sun will vanish, but that one day we will simply stop looking. As the last embers of our world grow cold, the silence of the void will be the only answer we receive. Every heartbeat you feel is a gift from a fusion reaction 93 million miles away, and that gift has an expiration. We are the children of the light, but we were born from the dark, and to the dark we must return. In 1 trillion years, even the last stars will burn out, leaving a universe that is forever silent and forever cold. If the sun vanished tomorrow, would you regret the time you spent waiting for the next sunrise that never came? Sleep well tonight, for the light is still here, but remember that the dark is always waiting just outside the door. The physics of the end are simple, but the psychology of the void is a weight no soul can truly carry. When the music of the spheres finally stops, what melody will be left playing in the corridors of your mind? The Earth will continue its lonely trek, a silent witness to a history that no longer has anyone to remember. We are but a momentary glitch in the eternal darkness, a brief scream of light before the inevitable and final hush. If you could see the end of everything, would you still choose to begin, or would you embrace the silence? The sun is not just a star, it is our heartbeat, and when it stops, so does the dream of humanity. We are drifting, always drifting, closer to the moment where the light fails and the truth of the void remains. Nature does not mourn the loss of a star. It simply adjusts to the new temperature of the cosmic grave. What if the darkness is not the absence of light, but the true state of the universe we refuse to see? Look up at the sky while you still can, for the light is a limited time offer in an infinite dark. The sun is already dying, second by second, and we are just the witnesses to its slow and inevitable exit. Every theory we hold is a candle in a windstorm, waiting for the moment the air becomes too cold to burn. Time itself would feel different in a world without days, a long and shapeless crawl toward a static and frozen end. We define ourselves by the rhythms of the light, but the dark has a rhythm of its own, slow and heavy. If the sun vanished, the ghosts of our civilization would haunt the frozen plains of an Earth that forgot its name. Are you prepared to be the last generation that remembers what it felt like to stand in the warm sun? The void is not empty. It is filled with the potential for endings that we can barely conceive in our light.
We are writing our history in the sand of a beach that is about to be swallowed by the night.
There is a certain beauty in the absolute surrender to the cold, a final peace that the light cannot provide. But here is where it gets even stranger as we look past the cold and into the final fate. Our descendants, if they survive, would be creatures of the machine, never knowing the touch of a natural breeze. They would worship the hum of the fusion core, the new god that keeps the biting frost at the door. To them, the sun would be a myth, a legend of a golden orb that once ruled the ancient sky. We would become the architects of our own artificial heaven, while the real heaven remains a dark and frozen wasteland. Life is stubborn, and even in the heart of a cosmic winter, it finds a way to keep the fire. Eventually, the Earth might even find a new home, a new star to dance with in the vast celestial ballroom. The ice would melt, and the air would return, and a new cycle of life would begin on a recycled world. But would it still be Earth, or just a tomb that has been reopened by a curious and distant star? The scale of time we are discussing makes our entire civilization seem like a single heartbeat in the dark night. We are obsessed with the moment, but the universe is playing a game that lasts for billions of slow years. In the end, even the most radical theory is just a way to comfort ourselves against the coming of dark. Does it matter if the Earth survives if there is no one left to tell the story of the light? We are the storytellers of the sun, and without our star, our narrative has no beginning and no end. The vanishing of the sun is the ultimate reminder of our radical and profound dependence on the cosmic order. We are small, we are fragile,
And we are lucky to have even had this brief moment in the sun. All the books, all the knowledge, all the secrets, they all rely on the energy of a star to be read. Imagine the silence of a world where even the wind has frozen and the waves are held in ice. We are lost without our star, a ship without a rudder in an ocean of infinite and cold darkness. Your body is made of star stuff, but it cannot survive the loss of the star that gave it life. The peak of human achievement is just a high water mark on a planet that is about to become a stone. Time is a luxury of the living, and the living are a luxury of the light in this universe. The song of humanity is a short one, and the sun is the only audience that ever really mattered. We walk in the light because we are afraid of the truth that hides in the long, cold shadows.
If the sun vanished, would the static of the universe be the only thing left to listen to? Consciousness is a flame that requires the fuel of a star to keep the darkness of entropy away. What does it mean to be human in a world where the horizon no longer holds any promise? Our identity is a reflection of the light, and when the light goes out, our image fades away. We are just sunflowers that have forgotten how to turn, waiting for a morning that will never happen. The existential dread of the dark is not just a fear of death, but a fear of insignificance. In the infinite dark, there are no mirrors to tell us who we are or why we were. The universe is watching, but it does not care if the light on one small planet goes out. We are the dust of stars that has temporarily learned how to breathe and how to love. If the sun vanished, and the beauty of the world would be preserved in a perfect icy stasis. We would be a museum of a lost age, a gallery of shadows in a hall of ice. The tragedy of our existence is that we are aware of the end, yet we continue. Does the fact that it ends make it more meaningful, or just a cruel and fleeting joke? We are the architects of our own meaning, even when the foundations are built on shifting light. When the sun is gone, the only light left will be the one we carry inside. But can that small flame withstand the crushing weight of 1 billion years of absolute and total darkness? Look into the abyss, and you might find that the abyss has been waiting for you all along. The sun is the king of our world, but even kings must eventually abdicate to the night. Till our world is a fragile ornament hanging on a thread of light that is thinner than we think. We are walking down a hallway where the lights are going out, one by one, behind us. Hold on to the light while it lasts, for the dark is not just coming, it is already. The vanishing of the sun is the final chapter of a story that we are still writing. What will the last page say when the ink of life finally freezes in the pen? Silence is the ultimate language of the universe, and we are just a brief and noisy interruption. Even in the end, there is a strange sort of dignity in being part of the dark. We are the witnesses to the vanishing, the ones who saw the light before it was gone. If the sun vanished right now, what would be your very last thought before the cold arrives? The clock is ticking, and the fuse of our star is shorter than the history of our soul. The dark is not an enemy, but a destination that we have been moving towards since birth. Close your eyes and imagine the sun is already gone, and you are just a ghost. Does the darkness scare you, or does it feel like a home you have finally returned to? In 8 minutes, the light will end, and the real conversation with the universe will finally begin.